Good morning, everybody, and thanks for coming out for Think Big Topeka's first official press conference. As is with this entire campaign, we don't exactly know what we're doing, so if this doesn't quite flow the way a normal press conference does, sorry, we don't know any better. We've got several people here to talk today. We'll start off with the mayor, and he's going to give us a little bit of insight about from the time that he heard this idea that Ryan Gigas had about changing the name of Topeka to Google, and sort of the behind the scenes for that 48-hour period from the moment we found out about the idea till the time that the proclamation was passed. So I will turn it over to Mayor Bill Button.
I will MC the press conference. No, I'm not supposed to read that. Well, this is a very interesting story, and I've told it many times. But I was in my office, and I got a call from Jim Ogle, and he had been to a gathering of young people in this city, Think Big Topeka, and they had, I assumed that they'd been having a few beers, and he said that they came up with the idea of changing the name of the city of Topeka for a week, I believe it was, to Google. And the reason for that was that Google had announced that they were going to look for a city to test their new high-tech equipment. We had received, at the city level, an application. So I knew about it. And so did the young folks. So they had this idea, and I asked Elisa when this was suggested that we change the name, did they laugh them out of the room? And she said they did. Well, Jim Ogle came to me and he said that this was an idea, and what do you think about it? And I thought, well, I thought that's really clever. It was fun. We could have a little fun with it. Actually, I thought it was the dumbest idea I'd ever heard in my life. But as old as I am, well, a lot of things seem dumb. So I said, yeah, I think we could have some fun with it, and we're going to have a meeting with the council in just about an hour. And I went down there and talked to them, and the council said, let's not do it for a week, let's do it for the whole month of March. Voila, there we go. So I issued the proclamation, and the subsequent fervor that caused was amazing to me. I had calls over the next week from newspaper, radio, and television stations, and I'll try to remember some of them. San Diego, San Jose, Sacramento, Eugene, Oregon, Denver, Colorado, Kansas City, Missouri, Nashville, Tennessee, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Atlanta, Georgia, several from New York City, Paris, London, Toronto, and even Brisbane, Australia. So what they started was something that was really exciting. I will say just one other thing before I leave the podium here. Google changed their name, as you know, on April 1st to Topeka. And we get about 4,000 hits a week on our website. And on that day, we had over 200,000. So it was something that I got calls from girlfriends, incidentally, that I hadn't seen for 50 years. No, I've been married for 50 years, so I better make it 60. But it's been exciting. I'm so pleased with this group of young people and the energy and enthusiasm they have about things and about this city, and we're very fortunate to have them here. And I'm pleased to be here today. Thank you very much.
I'd now like to ask Doug and Steve to come to the stage to present the award that the entire city was awarded at a economic development competition. I'll turn it over to them to explain it more.
Thank you, Alicia. I'm Doug Kinsinger. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Topeka Chamber, and this is Steve Jenkins, our senior VP of Go Topeka in the Chamber. We have some great news to share. Not only was there some great recognition for our community throughout this process, when the mayor and Think Big and Topeka had so much recognition from the hundreds, we actually think it was over 1,000 news stories around the world who focused on our community renaming itself to Google. But the fortune of Google then doing us the honor in return on April Fool's Day and giving us the recognition of having their website entitled Topeka, within that day, Google normally has roughly, their average is about 200 million searches on their Google site. That day they had over 400 million hits. And we were alerted by them, gee, there's tons of inquiries about Topeka. Do you want to tap into those to help market your community? Which Steve and his team did very, very quickly. And we tapped into those to make sure we were giving people great information about our community. So it was a great opportunity. It helped boost the awareness level of our community tremendously. And in fact, now as we're contacting companies and working with companies, we're constantly heard, well, yeah, I've seen you, you're that Google community, I heard about you. And we actually thought that the genius, the impetus behind that was so creative, we thought it was a way to recognize especially Think Big's leadership in getting that done. So we submitted an application to an organization of our peer professionals. It's actually called the Southern Economic Development Council, primarily the Midwestern and Southern states and peers in our profession. And they actually recognized Think Big for what a wonderful opportunity that they created, and they thought one of the most ingenious creative ideas ever to market a community, which didn't cost hardly anything. So what I'd like to do is, would Ryan Gigas come forward? As with any great idea, there's normally a team behind it who kind of evolves the idea and works on it and develops it. But there's got to be that spark of inspirational genius. And we would like to recognize actually the whole team of Think Big, but for the inspirational spark of genius, we want to give credit to Ryan Gigas for that thought of, what if we just renamed our town to Google? And Steve, if you turn the plaque over, and would you, Steve, read the plate at the bottom of the plaque, please?
Congratulations to Think Big Topeka team. Go Topeka, a member of the Southern Economic Development Council, submitted this entry in the Thinking Outside the Box category of the SEDC Annual Awards Competition on behalf of Think Big Topeka, summer 2010. Just very appropriate that it is Thinking Outside the Box category.
Yeah. So we wanted to congratulate Think Big and especially Ryan for this special recognition. So your moment at the...
Initially, when the idea was conceived a couple years ago, it was met with a little bit of laughter. But, you know, again, we had a very unique opportunity presented for our community when Google announced that they were going to, you know, search for a community to participate in the fiber network project. Thankfully, through social media, through Facebook, you know, Think Big encouraged the idea and suggested, hey, you know, when I presented the idea, can you go ahead and make this, how do we make this happen? I will tell you that the emails I got from some city council people, they were a little nervous at first because, you know, the legality of it if we were to make a permanent change, but thankfully we just went ahead and did the mayoral proclamation. A couple other things I think that's important for the community to recognize and keep in mind is city government worked so quickly to make this happen. And there was no other ulterior motives but simply to support the community as a whole. Additionally, I think for many of us, especially that have been active within the campaign, that, you know, Topeka is now in a place where it hasn't been before. Topeka is seen in a more positive light, and there's a lot of momentum within our community that we need to capitalize on. And there's a lot of people that are trying to make that happen. And so the point is not to sit there and worry about what should or shouldn't be done, but the purpose and the point should be to focus on how it can be achieved, and just simply supporting the community. So if you have ideas, throw them out there. There are people out there that are willing to listen, and I think this award and everything that we've experienced this year is indicative of that. So I'd like to thank Think Big for being appreciative of the idea and encouraging the idea to go forward. I'd like to thank the mayor, the city council, Jim Ogle, for coming together collaboratively to make it happen, frankly. Well, heck, they're the ones that wanted to extend the name change for a month, and we only asked for a week initially because we didn't think we were going to get a day. But we said we were going to go for a week first. And then also like to thank Doug and Steve for appreciating the idea enough to submit it to their peers and getting an award for it. It's fabulous. And then finally, everybody in the community should be thanked and appreciated, because there are more people coming forward that want to try to make Topeka a better place. And are we where we want to be yet? No, we're not, and we recognize that. And is it going to happen overnight? It won't. But as long as we have the end in mind of what we want our community to be, we can achieve that. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. That was great. The last little piece of information that I wanted to share at the press conference was to invite everyone out, and hopefully this invitation will make it to Google as well. On November 30th from 11:30 to 1:30, we are going to be holding a Topeka Loves Google celebration, and we will have some special guests in town. No, they are not Google. We wish they were, but we have not heard back from them on site visit. Instead, we're going to have a camera crew from the History Channel that's going to be here taping and getting interviews and trying to meet as many people that were as part of this Think Big experience and this Google Fiber push as possible for how their states get their shapes series that they put out. So from 11:30 to 1:30, we are inviting the entire community to come downtown. On 9th Street, we are planning on closing it down. We're gonna have live music. We're gonna have some food available. We're going to have the mayor come and speak, and we will be announcing a special big message for Google that will come out at that time. And at this point, I will open it up to questions, and I'll invite my team to come up and join me.
So what's next?
That is probably the best question I have heard all day. We've still not heard from Google when they are actually going to make an announcement. In all the documentation they put out, they did commit to announce something by the end of the year. We're getting down to the wire, so we are hoping that we'll hear something in the next several weeks. The most interesting thing we've heard out of them recently is the announcement of a test network at Stanford University. It's just another sign that they are committing to this program and to roll it out to the entire United States. They plan to break ground on that in January. So with any luck, we won't be too far behind them.